The Heat's on Tampa Bay, right?
The Heat is indeed on Tampa Bay, particularly after tonight, because they had to go to a foreign territory up north of the border to try to salvage things. The Tampa Bay Lightning hit the ice in Calgary Saturday night for Game 3 of their Stanley Cup Final Series against the Flames. Now, the series tied at 1 game apiece coming into this one, but I tell you, this one was all Calgary. Sean Donovan with the unassisted goal. It was 2-0 Flames at that stage. And then in the closing minutes, it would be an easy one. Calgary wins it 3-0 over Tampa Bay. The Flames lead the series 2-1. Game 4 is Monday in Calgary. In Minneapolis Saturday night, Game 5 of the NBA Western Conference Finals. The last 12 times that the Lakers have had a chance to close out a series, they have done so. And they were in that same position once again as they took a 3-1 lead over the T-Wolves in the Saturday night's matchup. The Lakers led early by as many as 8, but then here comes KG. Kevin Garnett with the reverse slam. KG finishes the night with 30 points and 19 rebounds. Minnesota holds off LA 98-96. But the Lakers still lead the series 3-2. The Florida Gators were facing a must-win situation Saturday afternoon at the SEC baseball tournament in Birmingham, and their battle with Vandy turned out to be a marathon affair. The Gators were down 3-2 in the ninth, but then Ben Harrison with the shot into the gap in right center. It'll go all the way to the wall. Adam Davis comes around to score. We're tied at 3-all, and this game is going to extra innings. It would go all the way to the bottom of the 12th. Vandy runners at first and second. Mark McGranger with the looper to right. That plates the game winner. Vandy wins it 6-5 over Florida in 12 innings. The Gators are eliminated. Vandy plays for the SEC championship on Sunday. Meanwhile, the Florida State Seminoles facing Georgia Tech Saturday night in the ACC tournament. This is a thriller. Tied at 6-all in the 8th. Eddie Martinez Estevez with a 2-run home run. That's his 18th of the season. FSU wins at 8-7 over Georgia Tech, so they will be the same two teams on Sunday squaring off for the ACC championship. In the major leagues on Saturday, the Yankees in Tampa facing the Devil Rays. Long ball time. Bernie Williams, Ruben Serra, Enrique Wilson, all with long shots for the Yanks. New York wins at 5-3 over Tampa Bay. The Yankees have won 6 in a row. Meanwhile, over to the National League, the Marlins clip the Mets tied at 2-all in the 10th. Mike Lowell with a solo shot to decide it. Florida wins it 3-2 over the Mets in 10 innings. The NASCAR Busch Boys took center stage at Charlotte on Saturday as the prelude to Sunday's Coca-Cola 600. The CarQuest Auto Parts 300 was the name of the business on Saturday. 2 laps to go in this one. Ashton Lewis gets into Tony Raines. They spin around, no major damage, but that would bring out the caution with under 2 laps to go. They could not restart the race. Kyle Busch was the man in front, and he gets the win. Check this, folks, out. In the dust, where is he? What a burnout. Kyle Busch wins it. Jamie McMurray second. And as we said on Sunday, the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte and also the Indy 500 at the Brickyard. Our list of top 5 finishes ever at Daytona have included Richard Petty's 200th win, Dale Earnhardt's one and only 500 victory, the 1-2 finish by Bobby and Davey Allison, and also the 79 500 that ended with the Allison Yarborough fistfight. But that brings us to our #1 greatest finish ever at Daytona, and without question, that has to be the 1976 Daytona 500. And the action really got hot right here in the banking in Turn 4.
This was another classic David Pearson-Richard Petty duel that produced one of the most incredible finishes in NASCAR history. The battle had been brewing for about 100 laps. On the final lap, though, Pearson had passed Petty for the lead, but as they came to the final turn, Petty went low to retake the lead. But there is contact.
Oh!
Both drivers wind up spinning, hitting the outside wall, spinning further out of control and into the tri-oval grass.
Will he come across the start-finish line?
David Pearson's car comes to rest back near the entrance to pit road. Richard Petty's damaged race car almost makes it to the finish line, but he comes to rest in the grass about 300 feet shy of the finish line. Everyone else was at least a lap down, so it was still Petty or Pearson's race to win, if they could get to the finish line. Petty was closest to the line, but his wrecked car had the radiator pushed in and he could not get the car restarted. Pearson had dumped the clutch on the car to keep his engine from stalling.
Here comes Pearson.
Pearson straightened out his damaged machine, and Petty could only watch as David Pearson slowly crept past, crossing the finish line for the only Daytona 500 victory of his career.
I think more people remember that race than all the races I won here.
An amazing finish indeed. The 1976 Daytona 500 earning our vote as the #1 best ever finish here at the Big D. You know, over the past 30 Daytona 500s, I've had the privilege to witness a lot of growth here at the Speedway, as well as in the sport of NASCAR itself. It's exciting just to stop and think and to wonder what just might be the next most memorable moment here at Daytona. I'm Buddy Pittman.
Apopka Blue Darter football is on the air. 1520 WBZW.
There's not a lot of Apopkas left. You know, there's not a lot of places where football is important to the community.
Apopka still has that small town community flavor that, you know, I think a lot of people wish they still had.
Get your blue darter, hat or visor.
The Blue Darters came into being in the early 1930s, so for around 80 years we've been pulling for that team.
Apopka High football is a gathering point where people can come together and be one. It's just a real rallying point for a community like Apopka.
When you talk about Apopka football now over the last 13 years, you know, we've been in the state playoffs. So it's almost an expectation of our folks to, you know, see us in the playoffs, to, you know, have good seasons.
Live here at the Citrus Bowl where tonight the championship for District 8A will take place.
I have always been a sort of believer in Team of Destiny things, but now I'm a full believer in Team of Destiny things.
They're stacking up that offense. Blocker takes it to the right. Touchdown here, Blue Darters!
We don't have a lot of guys that people consider Division I players, but I wouldn't trade them for anyone. The heart and the character they've shown all year, and the brotherhood and the belief, I'm very blessed and humbled to be a part of it. Our theme all year had been believing is seeing. You know, most people say, if I see it, I'll believe it, and we were kind of the opposite. Our team chaplain, Todd Lamphere, constantly talked about believing is seeing. Hebrews 11:1 says, you know, faith is what you hope for, but you don't have proof of. And our kids believed it.
When Chandler Cox scored his third touchdown of the game, you knew it wasn't going to be easy, that Apopka wasn't going to force Cypress Bay into a 4-and-out to end the game.
It came down to that final play with the interception where it was just a miracle that one 5'6" DB dove and tipped the ball to another 5'6" DB.
Yes! Intercepted. That's it, folks. The Apopka Blue Darters will win the football game.
I can't imagine a better state championship game. Shame someone had to lose, but we're just blessed to get the win on the biggest stage we can imagine. Oh, we did it. We did it. What a game. Look at the crowd. Look at the crowd. Look at the crowd.
When you go into the Citrus Bowl and you fill up the lower deck and the second deck, that doesn't happen much. And that speaks volumes for, you know, this community.
Apopka remains the only public school in Orange County to outright win the state title, and now they've done it twice.
It's for the young men because they work so hard, and to see the community get behind them and support them and love on them and brag on them, these are memories that are never going to go away for them.
These guys always believed from day one. They believed when no one else believed, they believed, and the end result is a state championship.
He's not raising football players. He's raising young men. Winning the state championship, or however well we do, is not the end of what they're doing, but only the beginning of what they do.
We use football as a vehicle to teach life's lessons, you know, and I told God long ago that if I was ever head coach, I was going to use my platform for him and to build men. Men not only built for success in high school, but beyond as husbands and fathers, and hopefully men built, you know, to withstand eternity and to make an impact on others. And I've got the best coaching staff that I can imagine. You know, all like-minded men, godly men who love these young men and impact their lives daily. And so we talk a whole lot more about off the field and having character, integrity, and honor and those type of qualities than we do about blocking and tackling and winning.
You know, it's one thing to win, and it's another thing to win the right way, and that's what Rick does.
I think most people would love to have what we have, as far as people who love their sports, who love their school, love their community. There's not many places like that anymore. There just really isn't.
It's very rewarding to have them know that although we didn't start well, because they believed, because they trusted, because they obeyed, because they did those things, they were rewarded. Apopka. It's a special place, and we're glad to win it in a place where it is special.
And then I became a NASCAR fan and got to know Buddy Pittman a little bit more, and he has a whole new explanation of what roof flaps are. Professor Pittman, would you join us, please? Enter and sign in.
My pleasure. Let's talk about some roof flaps. You know, NASCAR's always looking for ways to make these race cars safer. And one of the problems they had was when the cars got turned around backwards, they tended to lift up in the back. Let me show you the problem. When the cars would get backwards, the air hits the spoiler and starts to lift the car up in the air, and then you got the barrel roll and the flipping. Jack Roush and Roush Racing came up with a very important advent. It's called roof flaps. When the car gets backwards, the air makes these roof flaps come up. That keeps the car down on the ground. It puts the air force of the car back, forcing the car down to the ground instead of lifting it up off the ground. And in doing that, you avoid a lot of the barrel rolls and a lot of the dangerous situations when the cars get airborne. A great advent that Roush Racing came up with that NASCAR has adopted. It's required now on all cars, all of their race cars, that they have the roof flaps to help keep the cars on the ground when they get spun around backwards. So roof flaps, a very important addition in NASCAR safety. Back to you guys.
Hey, Buddy, is there any way that NASCAR can continue to improve safety? And I know that sounds like kind of a silly question, but it seems like, you know, they have all of their bases covered here.
Well, they're continuing every day. They have a research and development center up in Charlotte, North Carolina, and one of their main missions at that facility, and one of the reasons it was created, was to so-called invent the race car of the future, which is a safer race car. It's for everything from crush zones in the front and the back of the race car to type of materials that they use in the race car. All of these experiments are being done now to help try to even make things safer. With the Hans device and the roll cages and all that, they've done just about all they can do to this point, but there's always room to make things safer, and that's what they're working on at the R&D Center in Charlotte.
After retiring from full-time racing back in 2006, Wayne Taylor is getting back behind the wheel for this year's Rolex 24 to drive alongside his two sons, Ricky and Jordan. Both Ricky and Jordan's driving careers have blossomed over the past few years, and Wayne was happy just being a team owner. Max Angelelli joined the Taylor boys in the driver lineup for this year's race, but they needed a fourth driver. So Wayne could not pass up the opportunity to drive with his two sons.
Well, it's really difficult, you know, because it's 4 years ago since I drove last. I've done a few laps, but, you know, honestly, this is the chance for me to do this with my family. I'm going to have fun with it.
You know, we're all really nervous right now. It's all a lot of tension. But after the race, we'll really be able to enjoy it, look back, and say, you know, we did something really special.
He can give us feedback that, you know, that we're not really used to getting. So it's a new viewpoint from him. And, you know, to have all the family in the car at the biggest race of the year is pretty special.
Wayne admits the other guys will do most of the driving, but nonetheless, he will be keeping a watchful eye from the pits.
It's incredible. I mean, just incredible. I can't explain. It's very emotional. It's very joyful. It's just everything.
Wayne is a two-time winner of the Rolex 24, but whether they win it or not, this year's 24-hour test of man and machine will be one that the Taylor family will never forget. At Daytona, Buddy Pittman for Bright House Sports Network.